This is a video explaining how to implement PID into VEXCode. For V5 and IQ, the concepts and calculations will be exactly the same. We'll just implement them differently across the two code languages. So first off, what is PID? Well, PID is what we use to ensure that our robots can perform the exact task we specified in a quick, efficient, accurate way. How it does that is using the three main PID concepts, and those are proportional, integral, and derivative. So proportional reacts to our current error. Integral reacts to the accumulated past error, and derivative will predict the future error through looking at the rate of error. So an easy way to look at this is to visualize them as the present, past, and future. Proportional being the present error, integral being looking at the past error, and derivative being the future, of course. And the purpose of combining these is to reduce the error, aka move towards the target, smoothly and quickly without overshooting. So these values will be used in a control loop to allow us to control the movement and position of the bot. So what we'll first do is we need to read our positional measurement. This is using inertial sensors or odometric sensors, such as odometry wheels, tracking wheels. Second, we compute our error. So we find the target position minus the measured position. Third, we calculate our I and D values, meaning we have to integrate our I value and differentiate our D value. So this will allow us to look at the past and future, like as we see in this earlier slide. Then we calculate output. So output in this case would be our drivetrain motors. So KP multiplied by error plus KI times integral minus KD multiplied by change in measurement and change in time. So to explain this a little bit better, there are two parts to each concept of PID. So we have our gains and we have our measurements. So KP is our gain. This is what we use to instruct the robot to go slightly faster than what our error would suggest so that we can quickly arrive at our target. So in this first section here, KP times error, we have our measured error and we have our KP gain. And it will be the same for each concept. So we have our KI and the integral of our measured error, as well as KD, our derivative gain, and the change in measurement, or the rate of change in measurement, and the change in, and then we divide it all by change of time. Next, we'll clamp the output to our voltage limit. So since we're using motors, we can't have our output be too high or too low, since our motors can only receive values of -127 to +127. So clamping means to limit the range of this output to another range. In this case, -127 to 127. And then sixth in our loop is to stop all output once our error is less than or equal to our tolerance. So when we use PID, we will set a tolerance because the robot will not always go perfectly to the exact point that we want it to. So we'll set a tolerance, a range. For example, if we instruct the bot to turn 90 degrees, our tolerance might be 3 degrees, plus or minus. So between 87 and 93. Implementing. In this code, we'll use Euler's integration and forward difference algorithm for the integration and the differentiation. So the integral and the derivative. This is because we're going to prioritize fast execution over 100% accuracy, especially for things like 15-second auton in competition. You can experiment with other algorithms, of course, you can look, but we will be using these ones. So without lemlib, we'll need to use the voltage value to control the speed of our motors. So in this case, of course, the voltage has a range of -127 to 127. So we'll look here. We have our error, which is our target minus our heading. So this would be an angular adjustment. So we have target heading minus heading. Integral would be integral plus equals to error times dt. So this is the integration of our error, of course. And we continuously add this on to our integral value because it is an accumulation of the errors of the past. Then we have derivative. So the derivative looks at the rate of change. So it's a bit different. So in this case, we'll try to find the difference between our error now and our last error and divide that by dt, as that is the differentiation. So in the case of derivative, our present error should always be less than our last error. So derivative should usually come out to be a negative number. And then lastly, our output is our proportional gain multiplied by the error, our integral gain multiplied by the integral of our error here, and then along with our derivative gain multiplied by the derivative here. And then we can set our last error to this current error so that as it loops, it will continuously update last errors and errors. Okay, so as you might have seen from the last slide, integral is constantly being added to itself. So how does it not become overpowering? Because if we look at this equation here for our output, we're just adding the integral onto here. So how doesn't it become too large and overpower the rest of our gains? Well, when the error crosses zero from positive to negative or vice versa, the positive and negative contributions will cancel. So that means that typically it should tend towards zero, but we will also cap the integral so that it's not greater than 15. And this is known as anti-windup because the integral can get quite high quite quickly. And you might assume the same for the derivative value. However, for the d term, it controls the rate of acceleration of our robot. So as the error decreases, the d term is proportional to the rate of change, meaning in practice, if the robot turns too fast towards our target, the derivative will become a large negative and start slowing our robot and reducing our output until we smoothly stop at our target. So let's move on to tuning strategy. So when we tune PID, we want to get the highest KP possible without oscillation. So we'll start with KP only. So we'll increase it until the robot starts to oscillate and then reduce it and add KD. And we increase KD until oscillation disappears and the robot stops smoothly. And we repeat this to get the highest possible value of KP. And in the case of KI, we will only add this if the robot consistently stops short or drifts from our target after tuning the other two values. So typically, you'll want to leave KI at 0. And we also need to talk about the physical motions during tuning. So when we tune, we'll want to use larger values such as turn heading 90 degrees. We don't want to use values like 5 degrees or 1 degree. And this is because momentum increases with distance, requiring more KD and often lower KP. Because it's so small, the momentum will carry the bot to overshoot, meaning we need to have those much higher and much lower KP, which won't work for a larger motion, as when KD is too high and KP is too low, the robot will slow down as it tends towards the target until it never reaches. Next, IMU drift will accumulate during longer turns, requiring integral clamping. So this is part of the I term. The IMU, the inertial sensor, as if we tune to small movements, then the smaller errors will add up as we're using a larger movement. And this will require the clamping that we mentioned a few slides ago, the anti-wind-up, to prevent the integral from overpowering the other values. And finally, robot friction and inertia scale non-linearly with speed and rotation, meaning at a certain point, the robot will not be able to overcome friction or will have too much inertia and will not be able to accurately go to the exact point that we've tuned it to. So the key idea is gains tuned on small moves will usually overreact on larger moves. So let's get to recommended gain limits. Of course, these are not hard limits by any means. It depends on a lot of factors, including the build of the robot, anything like this. But typically, we'll keep KP under 10, KI under 0.1, and KD under or equal to for all those values. The reason for this is gain which is too high will cause the robot to become too sensitive and overreact when you send out a command. Examples: if you have a very high KI and you tell your robot to turn just 1 degree, it will aggressively try to go to that position very quickly and has a high possibility of overshooting. So depending on what you want to achieve, you can adjust your method of tuning accordingly. Lastly, we have some practical tips for PID tuning. Ensure you've calibrated your inertial sensor before auton. It's very important. And when tuning or making auton, don't try to achieve 100% accuracy. Subtle physical differences make it almost impossible to have 100% reliable and accurate auton, such as friction, such as inertia, and all the things I've mentioned before. For example, if you've coded a robot to turn 90 degrees, it will most likely be slightly inaccurate, could stop at values like 89.5 or 90.3 degrees, and this could be at no fault to your tuning. The values could be 100% correct, but the output voltage and physical output motion eventually won't be enough to overcome friction and will render the robot unable to make any more precise motions. And as I said earlier, the gain limit's just a suggestion. However, typically all gain should be at least under or equal to 30 and KI remain very small.